The reason I'm in Amarillo today is because Amarillo is an example of how Texas is going about the process of responding to COVID-19 at this particular stage of COVID-19's life in Texas. What happens is that we had the first month or two of challenges with regard to COVID-19 in March and April that required us to get a feel for how the virus was going to be spreading in the state of Texas and be able to amass all of the PPE, the medical equipment, the testing that were needed in order for the state of Texas to be able to assist local communities in responding to COVID-19. Now that we have gone through that initial stage, we are now at the level where we are opening up the state of Texas economically. And it's important that we be able to open up while maintaining the safety and lives of our fellow Texans. And there is a strategy that we use to go about that process. And that strategy involves what we call surge response teams. What surge response teams do is they identify hotspots in Texas where there is an increase in the number of people who are testing positive. What we have found is that those hotspots typically relate to three different categories. One is an increase in people testing positive in nursing homes. Another is an increase in those testing positive in meat packing plants. And a third is those testing positive in jails or prisons. Amarillo has gone through the challenge of facing all three of those hotspots overlapping. Nursing homes, several nursing homes, a jail, and then, of course, dealing with the consequences of meatpacking plants. That led to an increase in the number of people testing positive in this region. And that led to concerns on our part about making sure that Amarillo was going to be able to have everything that it needed. And when I say Amarillo, I'm talking about Randall and Potter County as well as all of the surrounding counties. We wanted to make sure they had everything they needed. And so the mayor and I had a phone conversation, and that led to a conversation that I had with the vice president, where I explained the challenges that existed on the ground in the Amarillo region to the vice president. And the vice president just immediately said, okay, here's what we will send, and included CDC team, and included more testing supplies, and included other additional types of supplies to make sure that we would be able to robustly respond to the challenges on the ground in the greater Amarillo area. And the results are astounding. The results are on this graph over here, but I want to walk you through what has happened in the Amarillo area. Going back to, you can see on May the 13th, at that time there had been a total, let me first explain what this graph shows. This graph is the aggregation of data for Potter and Randall counties. So every number you see includes the addition for all of these different information segments for both Potter and Randall counties. So for Potter and Randall County, on May the 13th, there had been a total of 5,674 people who had been tested in the region. And we had to cut it off effective yesterday, or on the 25th. And so from May the 13th until May the 25th, they almost doubled the number of people who had been tested in Potter and Randall counties. And then you can see the new positive cases, the people who tested positive. It was 182 on the 13th. It spiked up to 734 on May the 16th. And then you could see a slow trickle down until you got to May 25th, where you had 0 people test positive. And if I recall correctly, the same was true yesterday, where I think there were 0 who tested positive yesterday. This is exactly what we have seen when we have deployed these surge response teams to the other hotspot areas like this. You see an early spike in the number of people testing positive, and then you see a slow decline in those testing positive that demonstrates that the hotspot area has been contained.